Haha.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Yay. Hello, everyone. Very excited to be back. I haven't done a live event for a long time, so yay, I'm very excited about this one. Welcome all to Pop-Up Painting Live. Hopefully that has just come up on our YouTube now. I can see a couple of people who've already said they're tuning in. So we've got Tommy here. We've also got Audrey. Hello, Audrey. Lovely, lovely. Hopefully we're going to see lots of lovely comments this afternoon coming in. So just a quick introduction to the team. So my name is George. If you may have seen me on here before, but I'm going to be running the session today and making sure you're all happy. But most importantly, we have our lovely artist Laura. Can you give us a massive wave? Yay! Laura is going to be our artist and running you through the session this afternoon, how to recreate this painting. So the painting we are looking at is Annie and Dalton's. So Annie Dalton is actually one of our artists at Pop-Up Painting. So it's Annie Dalton's pop-up art painting of a lovely cow. So hopefully, I actually saw a few cows this morning on a little summer's walk. So hopefully this will get us all in a summer mood. I don't know, something about, the mood.
Here he goes already.
I love it. So yes. So that's a painting we're going to be taking you through this afternoon. So Laura will be taking you through step by step. Do not worry, it may look a bit daunting at this stage, but it will be broken down very simply. I'm sure you can promise Laura that it will be nice and easy to follow.
Oh, it will. Yeah.
Lovely, which will be great. So those of you who are watching who don't know much about pop-up painting, I'll just give you a very brief kind of overview about who we are and what we do. So pop-up painting, we are all about taking art out of the classroom and bringing it into sort of social spaces, so pubs, bars, restaurants, that kind of thing. Obviously at the moment we cannot do that because we are very sadly in lockdown. However, we have the ingenious idea to be doing some live events, so we can still bring painting to you from our homes to yours in these very difficult times. Hopefully give you a bit of a splash of creativity on a Saturday afternoon, which I think is well needed at the end of a long week. Personally,
Absolutely.
that's I always find. So hopefully that's what we're going to be doing this afternoon. We have a kind of couple of sayings at Pop-Up Painting that the more you drink, the better it looks. And this is a sip and paint event. Normally that's the events that we do. So if you feel like you want to bring a glass of wine or something to the event to help you along, that is very much encouraged. Laura has a glass. I have my lovely glass of sangria here, which is very exciting. Nice. So yeah, let us know if you're drinking anything special this afternoon, any sort of special cocktail to get you in the mood for our lovely cow painting. So we are all about helping you unleash your own creativity. So if you don't want to follow along with Laura, don't feel like you have to follow step by step. If you want to go rogue, that is absolutely fine. We love to encourage people to go a little bit off piste in these paintings. So if you want to do something completely different to what Laura's doing, that is not a problem. If you want to paint, I don't know if you want to do a self-portrait in this time because you've been looking at yourself too much in the mirror because we've not been able to go out. So you can also do that. Or if you end up sort of doing a merge of a cow and a self-portrait, that could be quite hilarious too. Who knows? So this is all about you guys having fun. It's not serious at all. We want you to have a lot of fun and just do what you feel best. And with that in mind, with sort of the materials as well, obviously, we are going to be using acrylic paints. So normally the materials that we use for our events, but I also appreciate that some of you at home might not have these materials available. Do not fret, that is not a problem at all. Please let us know in the comments if you have other materials that you're going to be using and you might need some advice with. We can help you with that too. So, you might be using crayons or felt tips or, I don't know, highlighters or whatever you might have at home. There's a whole array. So that's great. So we can help you with that if you want. Please use the YouTube comment section and we can help you with that. That's what I'm here for. I'm here ready and sat waiting to respond to all of your questions, so we can help, and Laura can give some advice too, I'm sure. Having said that, if you do want to get some materials in the future, we have actually just partnered up with one of our suppliers to create a lovely package of all of our materials. So we've got paints, brushes, canvases in there, palette book as well. No, well, not palette book, but a palette, and all of the goodies that you might need to make a painting. So you can also find that on our website at popuppainting.com/live if you want to get some materials and really feel like you're immersed in the experience with us with the same stuff, and it's very authentic. So you can do that too. The other thing I will say is that normally at our events, we like to theme our paintings with our music. So although it's a bit trickier to sort of broadcast music live on YouTube, we have shared a Spotify link. If you can't, I did try and share it earlier and was having a bit of trouble pasting it into our comments bar, but if you scroll down and look in the description that I've put out for you, you can find a link. It says listen here, and then there's a link to our Spotify. You can use that if you want to have some music to accompany. We've specially curated a lovely music playlist for you if you want to have something to help you along this afternoon. I think that's pretty much all I need to say. Is it, Laura? Is there anything else important? Lovely. I mean, apart from, of course, please take some photos. We'd love to share everything on all of the Instagrams and the Facebooks. So please do take some pictures and send along. Again, this is live, so you can send comments through and we can respond. There may be, hopefully not, but there may be some technical difficulties just because we're, as a warning, because we are live, but hopefully nothing will go wrong. Just please bear with us because we are all, we're all trying our best to make this as fluid as possible. So hopefully it goes without a hitch. I'm going to hand over to you, Laura, and stop the boring chat and we can get started.
I'll get on to the fun stuff.
Yay!
Okay, yay! As George said, I am going to be taking you step by step through this lovely pop art cow painting by our very own Annie. She is wonderful. It's lovely bright colours, and this is a fantastic one because it's quite simple when you break it down into its little steps, but you can also change up the colours. So if you don't want a kind of blue theme, you might want to go all over you might want to go classic black and white if that's what you've got, if you're doing it in pen. And it's really, really good, this one. We're not going to be layering much of our paint. We're going to be doing it in sections. So if you have got different things at home, if you're using pens or pencils, you're not going to have too much trouble with the usual blending and things that we do. So what I have got, if you are following with me, I am modeling the palette that you would get in our little kit. I have got red, yellow, blue, and white.
And this is where everyone at home goes, ooh. Oh,
Thank you for filling in the noises. I really appreciate that. This is the thing about not having live events. I am talking to myself at a camera, and as much as I might do that when I'm at home on my own anyway, it's very weird not being able to communicate with everybody verbally. So please do whack some comments in the comment section. George will pipe in with those. So I've got acrylic paint. So I've got water, because this is really handy for cleaning off your brushes in between colours and also for blending with your paint to help it spread quicker. Because the more water you use, the quicker it glides across your canvas and the quicker it dries, funnily enough, which is really handy for a nice quick painting. I've got 3 different brushes. I'm mostly going to be using my big flat brush for covering lots of area at once, and my medium round brush for drawing, and any teeny details I'll add with my teeny tiny brush. But if you haven't got more than one brush, that's fine. Just press harder or lighter. It might take you a little bit longer to fill in the background with a smaller brush. But as we are on YouTube, if you do feel like I'm going a bit fast for you, because we try and get it done in under an hour so that we don't bore the life out of everybody, you can pause me at any time. So even if you just got bored of the sound of my voice, or you just really need to go and top your drink up, priorities, you can pause me, so feel free. All right, are we ready to go?
Yay!
So that was, one last look at this.
Sorry, Laura, that was a really good point that you said about being able to pause, that we obviously are going to try and fit in as much as we can in this hour, but if you need it to be longer, don't, we may be going a bit fast for you, but you can just always pause at any time. It's all good. You can come back to it and spend as much time as you like.
All right, so we are going to start our lovely cow. Remember, you can ignore me at any point in terms of the colours or the actual animal itself if you want to go for something a bit different. But I'm going to start with this middle section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my palette, and the first thing I'm going to do is mix a lovely orange. Now, George, I know you love the quizzes. Can you remember how to make orange?
Red and yellow. I nearly said the wrong colours.
That intonation is everything. So when you're mixing colours, it's always a good idea to start with the lightest one first. So I'm going to take a chunk of my yellow over here, and then I'm going to add a tiny bit of red, because the darker colours will change it very, very quickly. And you can always add more, but you can't take it away. See, that's gone orange, very fast. I'm then going to dip my brush into my water and mix some of that into there too. And we're going to be using our medium brush as a bit of a pencil. So we're going to do our guidelines. Now, if you're a bit nervous, it's always good to do your shapes a little bit smaller because you can extend them out, but you can't really bring them in as easily. If you've got all the time in the world, you can paint over it again white, but we don't. So here we go. This is the first section we're doing. This first bit of his nose. Is it a snout on a? I'm really bad with animals. A cow's nose bit. Yes. You know nothing.
Yep, that's
is it
the
called
one.
A cow's nose bit? Yeah.
I think that is the technical term, yeah.
That is the technical term. As you can tell, I grew up on a farm. All right. So this section, if you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh my goodness, that doesn't make any sense, break it down into shapes. So it's roughly a rectangle. So it's kind of like a wobbly rectangle. So you want to think about it like that. It's going to be somewhere in the middle. If you get it in the wrong place, there's no such thing as wrong. There's no wrong answers in art, absolutely not. Just happy accidents. So we're going for a very rough rectangle, but we're going to do our curved lines. So I'm going to start with this bottom one, and that's going to curve outwards. I'm not going to say left and right, just in case I'm mirrored and backwards, and that would get very confusing. So we're going to imagine it's somewhere in the middle here. I'm going to do my first line curved. I'm going to curve outwards like this. Now the challenge for me is that I'm painting from the side of a canvas. So when I look at it, it looks completely different to what I thought I'd done. So we're just going to go with it. It's fine. Nobody worry. What we're then going to do is the top line. So this is going to be slightly longer, and this one's going to curve in the other direction. So what you can do is you can do your little curve in the middle, which is in the opposite direction, and then join them up. Yeah, we're getting there. Look, it looks like a nose already. We really do break this down nice and simple.
You know, if I had to guess, Laura, I'd say it was a cow.
You're so right. You are so. How did you know? Oh
Wow.
my goodness. We're now doing this one, which is, I'd say, parallel to this one. It curves inwards rather than outwards. So once again, we're going to make sure that this one's a bit longer. It's a square. We're going over here, roughly parallel. We're curving it inwards. And then we're going to join them up with some curvy lines. Well, one curvy line, because we haven't done the bottom line yet. That would be weird. There we go. So we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Nice and simple. The next one curves inwards, upwards. And remember, you can pause me at any point if you are now panicking, going, ah!
Inwards, upwards, downwards,
Inwards,
sideways.
upwards.
Wow.
The opposite way to this one, we're curving inwards. Little curvy line there. And I'm just going to join them up with a little curvy line. Lots and lots of curvy lines, keeping it curvy, keeping it curvy. Now remember, this is pop art, it's very stylized. So if you're looking at it thinking it doesn't look exactly like a real cow's nose, that's all right. That is not a problem. If it looked perfect, it's not art. You might as well just take a picture of a cow. I mean, you might not have any cows anywhere near you, which is sad because everyone should have cows in their lives, but let's move on very swiftly before I get excited about farm animals. All right. We're then going to add his little mouth. Now, the beauty of this, we are not going to have to paint any of the white because we're just going to leave the canvas white. I know, cheating a little bit, and I'm cheating a little bit. So this is a series of curvy lines once again. So it's basically the same. Ooh, nearly dropped it everywhere then. I'm so glad you can't see what's going on. So we're going to match this curvy line. We're going to leave a little bit of a gap, and we're going to match that curvy line. Yes, we are. Just checking that I've done that one the right way around. That'd be funny.
That looks lovely. Did you use the same brush for that, Laura? Or was it
Oh yeah, I'm still using my medium one. If you want to swap at any point to your smaller brush because you feel a little bit more comfy with it, then you can feel free to use your little brush or say the lines at the side. You might want to swap and then you're going to bring it up in a smiley face almost to the edge of your cow, your nose. Sorry. So we've got our thick curvy line, which goes upwards, and then we're going to give him a smiley face, which now looks a little bit weird. So we're just going to extend those curves down. So we're going to make it a bit thicker and curve it up in the middle. So two smiley faces on either side. We're going to curve it down, make it thicker, and bring it up in the middle. You can join them together as well, I missed. The joys of painting sideways. So we went for an upside down curve. Then we did 2 smiley faces to almost bring it up to our other nose. And then we've done 2 little curvy lines that join together in the middle. And if you've got any gaps, you can just fill them in. As long as you've got a wobbly line, this is totally going to make sense. Totally makes sense. We're doing a lot of reverse painting where we're avoiding the white bits for this. So we do need to give him some nice big nostrils. You might want to stick with your small brush and then fill it in with your big brush, because I did it with a big brush when I practiced it, and it went a bit messy. But don't panic. The beauty of acrylic paint, if you don't like what you've done, once it's dry, you will be able to paint over it with white later on.
Yay!
So if you have a look at his nose, they look like massive, I want to say, oh, what are they? Apostrophes? Apostrophes. So we're going to upside down apostrophes either way, or a kind of number 6-ish. So it's going to be a triangle at the top. Remember, we're leaving it blank. So you want to paint around it where it would be white. Hopefully that makes sense. Or it's like a teardrop, kind of like a teardrop. And all you need to do is make sure the one on the other side is basically mirrored. So you can curve it round. With this, it's better to make the nostrils a bit bigger. And then if you decided it's a bit much, you can edit it out by closing it in slightly. So we have got 2 nostril-y shapes. Remember, if you do want to have a look at this version at any point and I'm not holding it up, it is on our website. If you go to popuppainting/live, you will be able to have a reference point. I'm now going to just fill in the rest of the blank bits, remembering not to colour in my nostrils, with that orange paint that I've got left, hopefully. Remember to dip your brush into water. I'm terrible at taking my own advice. It will help the paint flow. You might find it looks a bit streaky. Just keep spreading it with that water, and you can always add more layers later. It depends what kind of paint you've got, how thick it is. But there we go. That is our very basic nose. And I can now see, looking at the camera, that my 2 nostrils are in no way symmetrical. Nailed it.
That's okay, Laura. Nothing about us is symmetrical.
That's very true.
We're unique beings.
We are not symmetrical creatures. And talking of which, we're going to do his blue bits on his face. And these are very much not symmetrical at all. You just need to get the rough shape of a cow. So, never thought I'd say that in my life. I'm going to pick up my little brush and I'm going to give it a little clean off in my water. So here we go. And I'm going to be just using my dark blue paint, nice and simple. And I'm going to start off with one side of his face. In particular, this side of his face. So it's almost a perfectly curved line. You can add a few little wobbles in, you don't need to worry. And it's going to come out from the top of his nose, remembering he's on a bit of a diagonal, and it's going to curve round. This is how you decide how big your cow is. So nobody panic, but it's starting from the top. Say the corner, if we're still imagining it's a rectangle. Try not to lean your hand into the wet paint like I just did. That's always a good one. And we're going to bring it up, out, and around. What does that look like on the camera? Not quite what I'm looking like. It's very, very challenging to paint from the side of a canvas. I recommend you try it at some point. It's quite fun.
I'll have to.
So we're bringing it round in a curve, and you can add a little bit of a wobble at the top because the animals are not perfectly circular. But you might have just done that by accident, in which case you're a step ahead of the game. Magic. You might have gone a little over halfway, like I have. We're not going to worry about that. We can extend it later on. This is almost a little bit like a stencil-y type thing. And we're leaving little white lines between everything we do. To again, kind of give it that stencil-y effect. Make it a bit stylized. You can keep bringing it outwards if you don't like your curve, because we're going to fill this all in a moment. Then what I'm going to do is another little curvy line here, which starts at the corner and it kind of curves round, leaving a bit of a gap between this curve. So it's almost the same curve, but it gets higher and further away from it. Yes. We're then going to make him look like a cow now. So we're going to do it in two curvy lines. One's going to curve this way slightly and then around. So it's almost like a triangle, but curvy, curvy. I've never thought I'd have to explain this. It's very challenging, but hopefully everyone is following along and I'm making some sense. Please comment if I'm not making sense, and I will I'll do my best to make sense. So you want to remember where the middle of your cow is, because that's going to be white. So you want to come just to the side of the middle, bringing it a little curve out like so. And then we're going to have another curve up here. I may have slightly overcurved that, but that's fine. Better to go too far than not far enough. And we're going to join that together like we did with our nose with another little curve. Yeah, he's coming together now. He has got a very wobbly nose on this one. I have noticed this. But the beauty of acrylic paint, you can always edit as you go. I'm going to make that less of a curvy line. A little less water on my brush. That's why I love acrylics. It's not totally permanent. There is always something you can do. That probably looks absolutely no different to anybody else, but I'm happier with it. So now we are going to do the other side of the blue cow. I'm going to avoid the eyes until I've got them both together, otherwise it could end up all sorts of funky. So remember to keep mixing a bit of water into your paint. It will help the paint flow. And I am using my small brush at the moment, a little bit like a pencil. But if you want to go for your big one, go crazy. I don't mind. So we're going to almost replicate this shape over here, but on this side with a few more curves. This one's going to come from further down, just to make it a bit more interesting. And we're going to do, notice where this curves in, and we're going to curve it to about there. So one curvy line outwards. Again, I'm leaving a little white gap between all of my colours. And it's coming roughly opposite where this one curves in. That's going to curve in there too. Hopefully this is making sense. We're then going to curve it outwards. So it's almost like this line, but we're going to do it in two curvy lines this time. And this is going to go really funny because I'm sideways. So I do apologize. I'll keep this one here so you know what I mean. So it's going to curve outwards into the middle. And you can flatten that curve a little bit. Soften it rather. Make it a bit of a gentler curve than a triangle. And then we've got another little line that brings it up roughly in the same angle as this one, about the same height. If I held my brush there, it'd be roughly the same height. Roughly. There we go. And then we're going to curve it round as if it's one big curvy line, but we're going to leave a gap. So we've gone a little bit further down this time, about halfway down the nose. We've gone for a curve that's roughly the same height as where that one curves in. We've added another curve out. And then another little curve that then joins all the way around, leaving a little gap. And then we just need to give ourselves a big curvy line all the way in, leaving a white gap every time between the nose. The white gap's going to get thicker and thicker. And we're going to curve it so that it almost joins this one. And then it goes, nope, all the way away. So they were almost making friends. And then they just didn't. Oh, sad. Oh no, Annie's got me doing stories.
Oh, that is...
Did you see Annie's story on the Tree of Life? It was heartbreaking. People were falling off cliffs and everything.
Yeah, I did actually. I did see that.
She started something.
It's very real.
So real.
Really felt something.
So there we go. We've got two rough bits of a cow now. But this is when you can look at it and think, it's a bit of a weird shape. Don't like that. I'm going to change this about it. But the first thing I'm going to do to make it much easier to see that, I'm going to mark out where his eyes will be, and they are just quite simply a curved shape. So that's two curvy lines, and they join together at the end. So there's going to be one, it's roughly in the middle where the fattest bit is, and one's going to curve out that way, so he's a very happy cow. And then you just want to make it almost a mirror image on the other side, which mine probably really won't be on the side. But he might just look like he's winking or something, who knows. This is hilarious. Every time I look at the camera, I'm like, he's very squashed, isn't he?
That looks pretty even to me.
It's not what I was thinking that I was creating. So what I'm going to do now is swap back to my medium brush, and I'm going to fill in those sections in my dark blue paint, quite simply, just using my medium brush or your big brush, if you so fancy it, bit of water, and my dark blue paint. And we're just going to fill in all around the eye section. And then you'll be able to stand back and have a little bit of a look at it and think, I'm not sure about that shape. I'm going to add a bit more of a curve there. Or I'm going to make this bit a bit fatter. Try and spread the paint as thin as you can to help it dry quicker. And make it look a bit more even. But if you can see your brush strokes, do not panic. Just remember not to colour in your eyes like I almost just did. It seems like common sense, but I don't really have a lot of that. So we're filling these two sections in.
So if anyone is following along or having any trouble so far, please let us know in the comments. We will assume if I can't speak. We will assume if it is all only half a glass. If it is all comment free, that you're all happy, but please do let us know if there's anything that you need assistance with, or if you have any questions about the materials or anything that you're using. We are here. Do not forget, for the next half an hour, we are here for you.
Or if you just want to say hi, because that's really nice too.
It is really nice, and we'd love to know where you're all joining us from too.
I'm in Cornwall.
Yay!
I don't know if I've rubbed that into people quite enough.
Yeah, we are quite far apart today, Laura. I miss you here in London.
I'm so sad without you in my life. Don't know about anybody else, but I just need a hug.
I know.
That's a bit sad, isn't it? I mean, I've got my family, but it's just not the same as hugging random strangers, which I obviously do quite a lot. So keep looking at your cow and thinking, is there anything I don't like? Pardon?
You can hug the cows now.
I don't know if there's anywhere near me. I know everyone assumes that all of us in the countryside just have an abundance of cows at our doorstep, but it's less cow orientated around here than you'd expect, you know. I just wouldn't know where to find the nearest cow, and I'm quite upset about that.
Oh, well, it's looking great.
Thank you. He's a bit wonky, but I think at this point I'm just going to have to accept that he is wonky now, and that's fine. He might be a drunk cow. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to give him some ears, and then we get to do the fun bit and start just slapping loads of paint on the background. And we've left the easy bits till last. How good is that? Oh, actually, that's a lie. Before I wash off my blue paint, I'm going to add just two little lines, two little curves. One's longer, shorter one on top. Just as a little bit of detail. Oh, look how he's popped. He's alive. He is alive. It's alive.
It's like he's here with me. Oh.
You can keep editing your shapes. I don't know what's happened here. I'm not feeling this section, but we're just going to have to go with him, aren't we? All right. We are now going to give him his ears. And remember, you can ignore me when it comes to colours at any point, because you might be thinking, I'm going to hang this above my bed, and this is just not the colour palette of my bedroom. And we would not want to interrupt the colour palette of your bedroom. So feel free to do whatever colours you want. The first ear is red on this one. I'm going to do this one first of all. So I'm quite literally, I'm going to use my little brush again, bit of water, my red paint, and we're going for those bog standard cartoon cow ear shapes. We've all drawn a cow's ear at some point in our lives. I realise that's less normal for some people. It's going to be, again, leaving a little bit of a white line in between any of the shapes and trying not to lean on the blue that we've just done. I'm going to do, how far down are we going? I'm going for a curved line that follows around the shape of my head. Something like that. Something like that. Then we're going to do two lines that curve outwards. The bottom one's going to be one smooth line and it's going out and it's curving up. I'm trying really hard not to put my hand in the blue paint. So that's one curvy line going upwards. And then on the other side, we're getting a bit fancy now. It's going to curve outwards, but then it's going to curve in and up. Oh, I know. So we're going for a big outward curve. It's curving in and then it's flicking up. A little bit like his nostrils if they were flat at the bottom. Yeah. I may have slightly overcurved that compared to the original, but I'm fancy, so what are you going to do? So that is our basic ear shape. And then I'm going to add in the triangles. Zigzaggy lines, lots of little triangles. They're all different shapes and they're all triangles, but they're all different sizes and lengths and widths and that's a girth, and that's not right, is it? That's 3D. Anyway, red. Why did I know you'd giggle at that word? Right, so we are doing lots of little zigzaggies. They don't have to be in a perfect pattern, making some longer, some bigger, some thicker. Just to give our ears a little bit of pattern. And you can fill those in as you go. There are some much more delicate ones on the original. But that is because Annie has a very steady hand and is incredibly patient. And I am the opposite of all those things. Okay, there we go. It's got some zigzaggy shape to it. I panicked then. I thought it was supposed to be on the bottom of the ear. It's not. It's okay. Nobody panic. We are now going to repeat that exact process on the other side, but with pink. So George, are you ready? How do you make pink?
You make pink with red and white.
Oh, it's not the same as red and yellow, is it?
Red and white.
That's it. Thank you. So once again, when I'm mixing paint, I'm taking a big chunk of the lighter color first. So I'm going to pop my white over here, which I've got blue in. That's not going to be right. That'll make a different color. What would that make, George? Oh, the panic.
Oh!
If I put blue into my pink, it would make?
It would make a light purple.
There you go. I wish you could have seen the panic on his face then. That was beautiful. You hate me now, don't hate me.
I was listening.
Yeah, totally listening. I'm just throwing it out there every now and again just to keep you on your toes. All right, so mixing a bit of water into that, we're going to repeat the exact same process we did before. As symmetrical or mirror image as you can get, but don't panic. It's like eyebrows, sisters not twins and all of that. And this time we have got a slightly different curve. So again, we're just leaving a gap between the head and we're doing a little line. So it's roughly the same size, but if it's not perfect, panic ye not. We are then going to do a big curve outwards and upwards. I have to keep checking it in the camera because it looks totally different to what I think I'm painting. It's fabulous. I feel like I could almost do a blindfolded painting after doing all of these. So then we're doing a curve that goes out and it flicks up again to join the other ear. The other line of the ear, should I say. It's still the same ear. So it's got a little triangle there. Beautiful. And then we're going to add some zigzags, some triangles. Beautiful. And remember, at any point, if this is going a little bit fast for you, you can hit pause. I won't go anywhere. Once you play it again, it will be where you left off. It won't be exactly live anymore, but better than panicking. We don't want anyone panicking. So we're going for some different size triangles again, some longer, some skinny, some fat. And we're going to fill them in as we go. These don't need to be in any way perfect. Doesn't even have to be symmetrical to that side. Don't worry about that. I'm not. I mean, you might want to. If you're a perfectionist, that's up to you. I'm not going to judge anyone.
I think there's a lot of character in having a little bit of asymmetry.
Exactly. I mean, all of our faces are asymmetrical.
I know. Well, I'm sure everyone at home has felt this when you've been Zooming, doing lots of video chats where you flip it, and it's just sort of like the reverse of what you think your head is, and totally not what I think I'm doing with my face. It's normally sort of like to one side.
I've realised I've got a lean in my head. I've had to start training myself to put my head, because I just
Me too.
I'm not quite as bad as these people taking pictures like that, but I have got quite a strong lean. So we now have basically a cow. And what I'm going to do, we are going to get onto the fun bit where we're just going to slap colour on now. But the first thing I'm going to do is just mark out this white bit, because these we can add on afterwards, but it's a lot more difficult to add white paint on top when it's still wet. If you are leaving it to dry, feel free, you can just add that bit in later. But the first thing I'm going to do is mix myself up a nice light blue, and I need quite a lot of this blue. So I'm going to take my light colour, which is my white. I'm going to add a whole chunk of it over here. I'm going to hiccup because I had a mouthful of wine and that's what happens. I'm broken. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my blue to start with and mix that in. And that way I can add some more if I'm not happy with the colour. But you know what? I think I am. That's a nice blue. That's a lovely blue. But again, if you don't want to do it in light blue, if you want to change your background colour to be something else, you go for it. Now, this could be the most complicated shape to explain, but we're not going to panic too much. I might. So I'm mixing some water. I'm back to my little brush now because we're using it as a pencil. We're going to pick up some of that light blue and we're going to mark the outside of this shape. Now, this is kind of his marking out his chest area, which I'm so good at. My cow, so like the top of his arm slash across the front of his belly, sort of. So what you want to do is have a look at where your face is coming round, and you can imagine where the line is going to come from. So it's as if you've curved all the way down from the head, so as if he's got a bit of a neck, but once you hit where your blue and your orange meet, you can follow that line round in a curve and then down into a bit of a straight line. Hopefully that made some sense. So we're imagining we've come down from this line here. We're starting to trace this line and we're bringing it all the way down. And once we're roughly level with where our nose meets our face, we're just going to continue that curve, bringing it inwards and then dropping it down. Bringing it in, dropping it down. Very rough, very rough.
Dropping it down.
We are dropping it down. I probably could have done with dropping it a little bit further, but we're just going to embrace it now because that's what I've done. We are now going to we're going to make some little triangle shapes. So a bit like how we joined them together here, making it a bit thicker. So we're going to come a little bit long with a curvy line. We're leaving our white space again, remember? So you can make this a little bit thicker than you think it needs to be because you can always make it a bit thinner, but you're not going to be able to take it away quite as easily. So we've brought it down in a curvy line to roughly where the mouth starts, if that's a good guideline for you. I'm then going to put a little triangle on top. Just because. I don't need to explain. We just do it and it works.
Yep.
That's how art works, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're going to do a smaller curve in the other direction. So that one's curving up towards the mouth, but it's going to be a lot smaller. So we've got a curvy line like so. So we've got one big curve that drops down into a straight line. Ooh, didn't mean to paint that bit. We're curving it down to just about where the mouth is. We're doing a triangle that's pointing up towards the corner of his mouth. Then we've curved it in the other direction. And I'm going to make that curve come down this way. I'm going to bring him in a little bit and curve it down. So that is roughly the shape you're going for. This is the most complicated shape in the whole thing, but it doesn't need to be perfect because it's just a rough guide for where his chesty shoulder army bit is. If anyone knows anything about cows and knows what that would be called, please do let me know. It makes sense in my head. We'll go with that. So this we're going to leave white
Collar?
and everything else will be blue.
Collarbone? Collar? No,
Maybe.
not quite.
It's kind of a bit that we don't have because they've got the two. Yeah. It's just a representation, isn't it? So now this is where it gets fun because we've not picked it up yet, but we're about to use our big brush. I know. And what we are going to do, we're going to stick with our same light blue color and we're going to try and make a diagonal line from the top corner to the bottom corner. Now, this might not end up being a perfect diagonal because you do have to stop at the cow in the middle. But as long as you've got roughly a diagonal line from that corner inwards and then this corner upwards, it should be okay. So we've got our big brush. We are mixing lots of water now into that light blue paint that we made up because we are going to have to try and fill one half of the background with it. And if we run out, no pressure, but you've got to mix the exact same shade of blue. There's no pressure. We can just make it a mess. It's fine. So I'm always making a mess. That's what I do. So we are going to imagine our diagonal line. Do we start at the top or the bottom? Oh, scary. So we're going to start in the top corner and we're going to imagine we're coming all the way down. But of course, we're going to stop just before we get to the cow. Ooh, that was the straightest line I've ever done. If it's not perfectly straight, do not panic. Because if you can draw a straight line without a ruler, I'm definitely saw in a film once that you are clinically insane. And you're going to stop just shy of your cow because we're leaving that little white line again. Yes. And then we're going to do the same on the bottom. We're going to imagine we've carried it all the way along. And we're going to start this end and try and bring it into the corner or as close to the corner as you can get. That'll do. It's like when you watch the DVD thing bounce around and try and get it perfectly in the corner. It never happens. Never happens.
Oh, I know. That always makes me sad.
I'm not joking. I did that with my nephew for about 15 minutes the other day. But, you know, kids don't have the same attention span as we did. Because I remember me and my sister watching it for over an hour once.
Well,
Didn't see it bump in the corner. But there we go. We are now going to fill in all of this bottom section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be leaving a little bit of a white line around the edge of all my shapes so that it kind of stands out all by itself. Magic. We're not worrying about the dark blue lines because we can definitely cover those over with our dark blue paint. So just remember to leave this bit white and do a really, ooh, or she goes straight in and covers the blue. If you do cover it a little bit, don't panic, but try and leave a tiny little white line around the edge. And we're just going to fill in.
Oh, Laura, we have someone who has just asked, is that an angled brush for the diagonal? Or are you just sort of
flat?
It's just a flat brush.
If you have an angled one, that might help you, but I don't. I left all of my fancy stuff in London. I've just got one simple brush with me. But that's all we use at our events. We can do it. And if you turn it on its side, it's basically a straight line anyway. Magic.
Lovely,
yeah,
thank
if you've got
you.
fancy brushes, you go to town on that.
Yeah.
I love it when people have more kit than me. I'm a little bit jealous. I've had to learn to use watercolor while I've been down here because that's all I could fit in my suitcase.
There's also a comment in there for you, Laura.
Hello.
From a special somebody.
Oh, who is this special somebody?
Well, Dalton's art.
Oh, how exciting. I'm a big fan.
I
of
know.
art.
Me too.
And is it telling me what I've done wrong?
No, saying it looks great, Laura.
Oh, thank you, Dalton's art.
You've done a wonderful job.
I don't know why I've just assumed that you're a harsh critic, but to be such a good artist, I feel like you need to be sometimes. Thank you. I appreciate you and your love. I do love the love. Is this what it's like to be a celebrity?
Oh, yeah.
I did actually have someone slide into my DMs after one of these, and that made me feel like a proper celeb. I mean, it wasn't as creepy as I imagine most celebrities get, but I'm halfway there.
You'll get your blue tick soon enough.
Oh, might need a few more followers. I'm not quite at influencer level yet, but I am teaching everyone to paint a cow. So you win some, you lose some. Remember to keep spreading your paint by adding water into it.
And what do we always say at Pop-Up Painting, Laura? Water is our what?
Best friend?
It is our best friend.
I don't know why that was a question.
Oh, I don't know. I was just agreeing with you. Sorry, yes. As a
No,
reminder
I
for
said it
those
like it was
out
a
there.
question.
Oh,
I doubted myself. I doubted it.
friend?
Water is not wine. If you do get to this point and your arm is starting to ache, feel free to just step back, have some wine, treat yourself. And that will give you the strength to carry on. I mean, I'm sure most of you haven't got your arms stretched above your head. As you can see, I'm avoiding that top corner for that exact reason. I don't know about anybody else, but at most real life pop-up painting events, I do end up getting a lot of paint in my hair and it dribbles down my arm and into my armpit. It's fabulous. And I definitely haven't mixed up enough of this blue. So everyone wish me luck while I attempt to make a very similar blue. I'm trying to spread it out really thin, but it has got to the point where I can't pretend anymore. Water is my best friend, but it's only going to make the paint go so far. And sadly, not quite far enough. No. Okay, so I'm mixing a bit more of that blue. Hopefully everyone is getting on fine with their blues. You probably mixed up enough in the first place. Look at me, ever the professional. Is it the same? No, it is not, but we're going to go with it anyway. It's fine. No one will ever know. Can you tell a little bit?
Oh, no.
I'm going for a stripy effect.
Yeah.
And I realise that is not what Annie did in the first place, but it's not as bad as the time I changed the colours completely because I am colourblind. So we're at least in the right vicinity at this point.
I'm interested in that. What happened there?
It was Picasso's inspired Cubist rose. That took a lot to get out of my mouth. Picasso inspired Cubist rose. And I thought it was black in the background. It was in fact purple.
Oh, I think we did that event together.
Oh yeah, and you didn't notice either, so I blame you.
I'm sorry, I should have known. Should have known better. Next time.
I just, I mean, I can't say it's not even because I don't like purple. That is in fact my favourite colour. So I don't know what I was thinking. And I can only apologise deeply and humbly.
We all appreciate that.
Thank you. I'll never do it again. All right.
Don't worry.
But we don't have to worry because you can all change the colours up anyway. You don't even have to be doing the same colours.
Yeah, if you want some sort of wild texture sky, that's absolutely great.
Yeah, make it look like grass and clouds and things. I've got a chunk of a chunk of paint somewhere that's just appearing every now and again. Okay. Ooh, my arm is on fire. This is the most exercise I've done in a while. Ooh, definitely need some more wine. How's the sangria coming on, George? Are you enjoying it?
It's absolutely delicious. I would recommend to anyone who wants to make their red wine go longer.
I'm very jealous of everything going on right now. Mine is even a spritzer because I can't be trusted to drink a real glass of wine. Okay. We have now got this nice blue. I'm trying to spread it a little bit thinner as well, just to make sure it dries in time for us to add our details on. And we are now going to move over to the other side. And this is where I'm probably going to make poor color choices. Sorry, Annie. But I'm going for a pale greeny yellow. That's what I feel it's going to be. So how I'm going to do this? I'm going to take my yellow. I mean, in all honesty, I could probably just mix it straight into my blue, but I'm gonna not do that just yet. I'm gonna add a bit of white in there to make it a paler yellow. I'm gonna try and mix enough for me to actually cover my background this time.
Yay.
And then I am going to add a tiny bit of my light blue in there to start with, because I just want to make it ever so slightly green. ever so slightly. And this way we don't have to worry about our water being dirty as well if you haven't got time to go and change it. Pick up. So I'm just mixing tiny bits of that blue into my pale yellow. So yellow and white, and then little bits of the blue until it goes ever so slightly greeny. Or you can just do it pale yellow if you like. And then mixing water in, and I'm doing the exact same. I'm going to fill in this half, leaving a little bit of a white line around my cow. And I'm going to mix a whole bunch of water in to start to give myself a chance of finishing the background. I'm not sure I'm going to get that colour exactly right again. We love stripes, it's a good thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from the top corner down towards my blue so it gives it the most chance to dry, because if you start straight on this line, you're quite likely going to get a strong green line. And you might want a strong green line. That is a choice that you can make. So I'm going to leave a little white line around the edge. I'm going to outline my cow, and then I'm going to go to town, filling it in. Still got that random blob of paint somewhere that's appearing on my brush. There it is. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. Aha! There we go. Nobody panic. She's got it.
Yeah.
She's also got some stripes, as you can see, but I'm going to embrace that. I totally meant to do that.
I think it looks great.
Thank you. Having a great time. Have we had any more comments, George? Is anyone talking to us today?
Oh, everyone seems very happy, I think.
Oh, that's
I mean,
nice.
again, please do comment if you've got any questions whilst we're sort of, I mean, we've got around 10 minutes left, so we've still got a wee while if we can give you any advice before we say au revoir.
Au revoir. Or if you just want to make friends, we love to make friends.
We do love to make friends.
It's the thing I miss most about the real live events in the real world. Making new friends. And also being able to nosy at everybody's artwork as well. That bit is normally my favourite part. It's really exciting to see how different everybody's look from the same. We've all got the same brief, the same instructions.
Yep.
I think it says something about you as a person, how you interpret and how it comes out of your arm and onto the canvas.
Absolutely. I'm loving it.
Venturing into art psychology, I'm sure, but that's not my forte. I won't try and pretend that it is for a second. So we are just filling this in with our nice, well, whatever colour you've chosen to do, but if you followed along with me, I'm going for a very pale, ever so slightly greeny yellow. And I am also standing on my tiptoes right now, so it's a full body workout, this experience. Good times. If you could see my setup here, you'd have a good giggle at it. Many piles of boxes and books, just propping everything up and hoping for the best. I have knocked things off a few times. If you've been to the lives before, it doesn't always go to plan.
That's okay. That's just the joy of it being in real life, lifetime.
Exactly. And to be fair, I'm genuinely this clumsy at real life events as well. So I'm not going to pretend it's just because we're where we are now. I can't claim that. So we're filling this whole section in this colour, leaving a little bit of a white line around the cow. There's no pressure to go all the way up to the edge of our cow. And I've left joining up the yellow and the blue just for a minute to give it the most chance to dry. And then that's the bit where you need a really steady hand to try and join the two lines together as neatly as you can. Now I prefer to use my big brush on its side because it is pretty much flat, or it was before I mushed it. Take care of your brushes, people. And I'm going to do some gentle strokes. If it overlaps ever so slightly, I'm not going to panic because I quite like green. It's a lovely colour. And again, we're spreading the paint quite thin because we are going to add some leaves over the top in a minute. But this is the magic of having done it in a yellowy green. We can put green on top quite easily when it's darker. So we have now joined these backgrounds together, spreading it a little bit thinner. And you can see it's coming along nicely.
Yay.
He does look a little bit like he's sideways. But that's going to work when we add the leaves. So don't judge it until the end because he is chewing. So remember that. He is chewing. So what are we going to do now? We're going to have another sip of our wine just before we add the last few details on.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's probably over here, isn't it? I don't know how Zoom works. We're mirrored. It's confusing. So we have 2 more things to add. We have our little outside lines and our leaves / grass, long grass. I don't know. Cows like all things green. So we are going to pick up our little brush again, and we're going to use him as a pencil. And I'm going to do some wiggly lines, and these don't need to be perfect. I'm going to try and make sure they're roughly in the right place for you. It does help. And I'm going to use my dark blue paint. And what we're going to do, just how we kind of imagined this line was carrying on down here, we're going to bring it from this curve around the top of our ear. And then we're going to start it a little bit further down. So we're going to pretend we're carrying this line on down this way. We're going to curve it in slightly. We're going to curve it outwards. And we're going to curve it back into almost, well, parallel with that other line we've done. We're just going to do a big giant curvy line. So we're starting up near the head, a little bit away. We're bringing it down outwards. He's going to get fat there. And then we're bringing it in. I'm not doing the 3D bit at the bottom just for the minute. This is just to help you know which direction your curves are going in. Ooh, that went wobbly. You might want to press gentler to start with, just to get a bit of a thinner line. And then we're going to extend the bottom. And how we're going to do that, it's almost like a triangle, but it's curvy. So you can see this section here. So we're going to carry on the line down. And then we're going to add a bit of a curvy triangle, a bit of a downward slope. And we're going to bring it back in to match. This doesn't need to be perfect because it's all just rough guidelines. They're not like his actual legs. It's just a kind of symbol of this is his legs.
No, I'm joking, of course.
What? I mean, I don't know what cows you've seen, George. The ones you saw earlier, I'm a little bit worried about them. But it'll be fine. Also, I keep looking down on the camera and I'm like, that's really not what it looks like on my screen. Hilarious. You can fill in that bottom bit as well if you like. Because that's when you can see, oh, I like how that looks. Oh no, I need to make it a bit fatter. I need to bring it up a little bit.
I would also say at this point, obviously, again, because this is live and we're trying to get in all the instructions for you in our hour time slot, that, you know, there is a risk that if you hadn't got a very thin background, I'm guessing that you know, some of your paintings could still be a little bit wet. So I probably would advise maybe you could just do the outline or something. I don't know, would that be best, Laura?
Yeah.
Or you can always fill it in later.
Yeah, fill it in later. Draw it on for now, but it might be a bit thin. It might blend into the blue in the background, and you can always add more layers on later to make it stand out a little bit more. So we're now going to do something very similar to this side. What we're going to do on the other side, and again, it's just going to be a bit smaller. So we're going to start roughly, we're going to slightly overlap now onto our yellow. Although depending on where you put your cow in the first place, it might not overlap perfectly, but this one does. It's roughly at this bottom lump, very technical again, the bottom lump of his chin. And I'm going to bring the curve down towards that white shape that I did. And then I'm going to curve it in the opposite direction and outwards a little bit. So it's one big curvy line. A bit more curvy than the original, but I'm going to embrace it. That's fine. We like it curvy. He's a curvy cow. Well, she's a curvy cow. How do you know if it's a male or female cow?
By the curve, I don't know.
Do they have horns?
Yes, maybe.
Okay, so it's a she. There we go, curvy. And then we're going to add our triangle in the opposite direction. So it's going to curve down slightly, and it's going to come in. Ooh, that looks definitely more like a foot. The curvy triangle at the bottom, but I'm really not trying to make it look like a foot. And if it does, it does. Cows don't have feet like people. I know that much. And then you can have a look at your lines and kind of think, I'm going to make this a bit thicker so it's not such an obvious triangle. You can have a bit of a play with making them thinner at some points, thicker at others, however you want your lines to look. These are just a kind of a representation of the outside of a cow. He now looks a bit squashed, or she does. They, them, cow. And you might want to kind of have a play with the shape of the eyes if you've gone quite big with your eyes. Or if you want them to be bigger, you can leave it till later and go over it with white paint. But we have one more very important thing we need to add, and that is the grass. Otherwise, our cow is going to go hungry.
Yay.
And that's just going to be 3 curvy lines that are slightly triangular. They get thicker as we go. And they're going to poke out roughly from our indented curve over here. And all we need to do now is mix up some greens. So, George, how do we make green?
Blue and yellow.
Oh, it's my favourite.
Was that good enough?
What you can do is you could cheat a little bit and mix it into your greeny, bluey yellow already. I want quite a dark yellow, so I'm going to take a bit of my yellow and I'm going to add slightly more blue than I normally would so that I can make it quite dark, or khaki, which I always get told off for saying. khaki green. Khaki. And then I'm going to add a bit of water in once again to help it spread. And then I'm going to add 3 leaves, and they are poking out roughly from where my curve indents here. So I'm going to do, you can do these as big as you like. 1 curve like so. And I'm going to do the lines first and then add them, make them into triangles. Just flicking it out and flicking it down. It kind of looks like he's got whiskers at the moment, which, I don't know, do cows have whiskers? Couldn't tell you. They might have like really thin ones, like how we technically have whiskers, but really thin baby hairs on our faces. We don't have whiskers. That would be so weird, wouldn't it?
That would be very weird.
Although I feel like it'd be kind of fun. Just like when men have big, long, twiddly moustaches.
Eloise has just commented, Laura, saying, aren't all cows female? A male cow is a bull. Yes.
Yes.
I think that sounds about right.
That is right. Well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eloise, for helping us. Our terrible animal knowledge. But yes, that does make sense.
Absolutely useless. We're artists. We're not what's the equivalent of an animally person? A vet or a zoologist?
An animally person. Love it.
Wow. I don't know about anybody else, but has lockdown seriously decreased your vocabulary? I feel like I've forgotten how to use words. So there we go. The cow now has what I'm assuming is grass hanging out of his mouth. Now what you can do once this dries, you could go back over it with some highlights. You could add a black line for a bit of a shadow, or white line for the highlights, obviously. And this is where, once yours is dry, you can edit it as much as you like. You can look at it and think, oh, that shape's not for me. You might want to extend it still a little bit. The beauty of this painting is you totally can, especially if it's acrylic paint. You could neaten up some of your sections. You can get your white paint. Mine is full of all sorts of other colours. So if you didn't like your nostril, you might go, oh, I'm gonna reshape my nostril using my white paint. See what I did there? It might take a few layers, especially if your paint's still a little bit wet. But that is the beauty of acrylic, is that you can always go over it later and just neaten up what you've done. But you might be absolutely happy with your cow. You might be like, no, I did it perfect first time. Good for you. Good for you. And I'm just going to check the original, because I have a really fun habit of missing something fundamental in every painting that I do. But as you can see, hopefully that is a slightly sideways wonky version. But I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with my
I think
cow.
you've got it down. It looks great.
She looks so happy, and that's all that matters.
Oh,
as long as your
bless
cow
her.
is happy, we can ask no more. We
Yeah.
can ask no more. Oh,
Now,
just
Laura,
stand back
before
and
we
have a look.
conclude this event, what is the most important thing that everyone must do to their painting to make sure that it is worth millions and millions when they're going to sell it tomorrow?
Not drink more wine. We must.
Oh, no.
We must sign our artwork. We must sign it.
Yes.
Now, your signature, you can add just your name. You can do initials. You could add the date. You can do a thumbprint if you're feeling really fancy. And I am going to be color coordinated. See, words are so hard to find. And I'm going to do my signature down here in my dark blue paint using my little brush. Oh my goodness. See, I always forget something fundamental, and it was going to be the signature today. Thank goodness you're here, George. What would I do without you?
Well, I don't know, Laura. I just don't know.
L Mac. I made that signature when I was quite a bit younger, and clearly I thought I was some kind of rapper or something. But
L Mac.
L Mac.
I like it.
There she is, and there she is.
L Mac. As
would you
we
like to
are.
name my cow?
Oh, I don't know. No, that's
then.
too difficult.
I mean,
you could just call. Can we just call it L Mac? Forevermore.
That's true. L Mac the cow. I think that works.
L Mac. Well, L Mac OG, thank you very much for taking us through. I'm aware that we're just a little bit over half past, so I would like for any of those who have scheduled away for other wild events this afternoon, hopefully maybe you can do some exciting things in these lovely weather times.
It's raining down here.
Is it?
It is.
Oh no.
Rubbish.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's quite nice in London. Well, having said that, I'm sure you're all having lovely afternoons and evenings, regardless of the weather. I hope you have some lovely times. I think it's really important for us to give a big thank you to everyone who's been watching and joining. This is a very tricky. I'm going to just go to gallery view so you can see our lovely faces together. Yay. As I said, this is a really tricky time for everyone, and of course we normally would be doing lots of events live with lots of people in real time and being able to connect with lots of you lovely humans, and so it's a shame that we can't do that, but we are super grateful that we can still do this and that we are having some support. So please do take some pictures, share them for us at PopUp Painting and hashtag popuppaintinglive too, so that we can share some of these pictures as well and get all of the news spreaded about all of the lovely things that you have made and the things that I spreaded. Yeah, exactly. And spread the word, spread the joy. Thank you again so much. I don't think there's much more to say other than if you would like to join another event in the near future, we have a couple coming up. So we have on Wednesday, we have an online party. On Thursday next week on the 18th, we have another live event, which is lovely. And then Saturday the 20th, we have our next sort of online public party, which is Painting the Great Wave. So that's a very popular one. So hopefully if you would like to join in, the online parties are a little bit longer. They're a little bit more sort of focused in terms of people, so it can be a bit more sort of conversational. It's on Zoom and it's very fun and exciting. So if you would like to do that too, we would love you to be joining. And yeah, we get to actually have proper conversations to your actual faces, which is great. But yes, for now, I think it is time for us to say farewell and thank you so much. And please do share, and we would love to see all of your pictures and hopefully see you all soon. Thank you especially to Laura for being wonderful and for painting a lovely L Mac painting for life. Bye bye.